No, you're not imagining it, nor are you too sensitive. Car quality has in fact gotten worse. And at a time where car prices are more expensive than ever, it feels a bit like pouring salt into the wound whenever you're paying more for a car that is objectively a worse product. Now, before we dive into that, I do want to let you guys know that my course, the Car Sharing Masterclass, is currently on sale for Labor Day, and you can use the code LaborDay150 to get $150 off. The Car Sharing Masterclass teaches you every single thing that you need to know about starting and scaling a car sharing fleet, from how to buy cars and how to find the best deals as possible, how to streamline your operations in order to make it as semi-passive as possible, how to grow your fleet through avenues like direct rentals and co-hosting. Not only is the course full of over 10 hours of condensed content, but there are documents and resources, contractual templates constructed by real attorneys. You get access to our private Discord, our monthly Zoom calls, and we have a ton of cool stuff that's going to be rolling out very soon for our course members. In fact, we are so confident that the Car Sharing Masterclass is the best car sharing course on the market that we offer a robust, no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee. And so again, our Labor Day sale is running until Tuesday, September 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're interested in checking out the course, now is the perfect time to do it. You can use the code LaborDay150 to get $150 off. The link is down in the description below. Now, let's first talk about recalls. In the last few days alone, Ford has recalled over 355,000 pickups due to an instrument failure on the dash. Chevy in the last few days recalled 23,000 Corvettes due to a fuel pump issue. Nissan just last month recalled 444,000 cars due to an engine failure. And literally, as I was getting ready to film this video, another Ford recall was issued for 500,000 vehicles due to a brake fluid leak. And these are just a handful of the recalls that have been issued over the last few weeks to a month, and throughout 2025, there have been a lot more. And if you're anything like me, you probably think to yourself, man, I feel like I've been hearing a lot about recalls lately. And well, that's because you have. According to the annual report from the NHTSA, the most recent one released in April, recalls have in fact gone up. And you can see from this graph that over the last few years, recalls have climbed, but truthfully, this has been a trend that has started over a decade ago. And here you can see that the blue bars represent the number of recalls. So this is like the sheer amount of recalls. You could have one recall that affects tens of thousands of cars, but it is still only one recall. While the orange line on the graph represents number of vehicles affected, and this could be potentially thousands or even tens or hundreds of thousands of vehicles depending on the recall that we're talking about. And you can see here that the number of recalls issued has been steadily climbing over the years. While that orange line may seem as though it's declining, and I guess technically it is also a bit misleading because this peak that you see in 2014 to 2016, that was during the period of time where there was the Takata airbag recall, which affected a record number of cars. So sure, the number of vehicles affected by recalls has technically gone down since that peak. When we take a bit more context into account, it is growing just like the number of recalls. Recalls have also sharply increased with EVs, and you can see that the amount of time it takes for recalls being issued to remedy available is sometimes taking months. With Nissan on average sitting at 245 days between recall filing and remedy availability, Honda is at 183 days, and Ford is at 139 days. And the thing about recalls is that once they're issued and the remedy is available, nobody's actually forcing you to get that recall fixed. And that's what we're seeing in reality because, well, for some reason, we don't have 2024 data in this graphic. It's very clearly showing that remedy rates are anywhere between 60 to 70%. With rates going up in recent years, most likely due to over-the-air updates, which are significantly easier and more convenient to fix for a car, but are still technically a true recall. But nonetheless, you're seeing about 30% of drivers simply not getting their recalls addressed for their vehicles. And this is an issue not only for the owners of the vehicles who aren't getting these issues addressed, but it's also an issue with everybody else on the road who could potentially be impacted by these recalls that haven't been remedied. Because while some recalls are completely harmless, there are others that can cause significant damage. For example, do not drive recalls, fire risk recalls. And recalls have been a bit of a hot button topic over the years because it feels as though automakers have no accountability for the recalls that they ultimately end up issuing. Sure, the automaker does incur the cost of getting the recalls addressed and fixed. That costs time, parts, and labor. For example, the Ford engine recall from earlier this summer is going to cost the company about $570 million. However, there is a valid argument to be made that this cost just simply isn't enough. Now, recalls are one problem, and they absolutely are a problem, but they aren't the only problem, because general reliability and dependability is also an issue. Every year, J.D. Power releases a list of vehicles and their reliability based off of problems per 100 vehicles. Not only does JD Power list out these problems per 100 for each vehicle make, but they also rank this list as well. And they have been doing this for a very, very long time. And if you look at this list over the course of the last 10 to 15 years, you will obviously see a lot of ebbs and flows with this list, with different automakers holding different positions in the ranking list and different automakers showing different problems per 100. However, the overwhelmingly clear consensus from this data historically is that the amount of problems reported per 100 vehicles is absolutely increasing. Here are two graphics, both from JD Power. The one on the right is from 2025, and the one on the left is from 2015. And interestingly enough, the two top automakers for dependability are the same across these 2 years. But the amount of problems that are reported for not only these two automakers, but for all of the automakers are vastly different. Back in 2015, the most reliable brand was Lexus, with 89 reported problems per 100 vehicles. Today, that same brand is Lexus. However, the reported problems has increased to 140. That is a 57% increase in reported problems for Lexus specifically. Buick was second in both 2015 and in 2025. However, problems reported in 2015 was 110, and today it's 143. That's a 30% increase. And Toyota had 111 reported problems in 2015, and they were ranked third. This year, it dropped to fourth with 162 problems. That's a 46% increase. It's even interesting because there were some automakers that greatly improved their ranking amongst this list, but even with that improvement, they still saw an increase in overall problems, and thus a decrease in dependability. Like Mazda, which was ranked 16th in 2015 with 140 problems reported, but this year they were ranked 4th with 161 problems reported. In the case of Mazda, their dependability went down, but their ranking within the list actually went up because of the fact that other automakers decreased in dependability at a larger and faster rate. In fact, here I've highlighted the 2025 data to show you. The purple highlights are brands that weren't ranked in 2015, mostly because they weren't around or large enough to be included, but the yellow are the brands that have seen declines in dependability over the last 10 years. And for the sake of clarity, let's flip it and highlight the brands that have seen improvements in dependability. And in case this wasn't clear, you're left only with Mini. That is the only brand that has improved, which is embarrassing. Now, if we look at averages based on 2015 numbers, the industry average reported problems was 147, and in 2025, that increased to 202. That's a 37% increase amongst the average. But even whenever we take into account the average, most automakers couldn't even meet that. In fact, all of the different automakers that saw an above average increase in problems, we have Lexus, which reported an increase of 57%, Toyota increased by 46%, Cadillac by 48%, Honda by a staggering 73%, Porsche by 60%, Lincoln by 87%, Mercedes by a whopping 104%, GMC by 47%, Acura by 101%, Nissan by 68%, Ram by 81%, Audi 98%, Mitsubishi 83%, Infiniti 44%, Volkswagen 73%, Chrysler 63%, and both Volvo and Jeep increased by 39%. And again, these are just the ones that experienced an increase in problems above average. Now, I'm sure if you're watching my channel before, you didn't need to look at the data in order to determine that recalls have increased and vehicle quality has declined, because the decline in vehicle quality is probably one of the most commonly commented statements on my channel. People talk about it all the time and talk about the fact that you can feel the decline in quality in the vehicles that you drive today versus the ones that you drove 10 to 15 years ago. But the data also doesn't lie, and it really reassures the feelings that vehicle quality is in fact declining. And with the increase in recalls and also the decrease in dependability, reliability, and overall quality, it feels as though automakers are trying to cut corners and skimp where they can, and then they are simply using recalls as a way to address maybe these quality control issues that they should have caught at the assembly line. And truthfully, it's unacceptable. Now, I don't know the answer or solution here, but as far as a consumer's perspective goes, I know that this certainly doesn't give me the confidence in longevity and long-term reliability on the cars that are being sold today. And that is a major problem. Like always, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it. So make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell. And I will see you guys in the next video.